Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another Friday, Fresh CFO Fridays. Before we get started, I want to give some time for everybody to go in. If you want, drop in the chat who you are. One of the things I can't see on YouTube Live is actually the number of people. So drop in, say hi, share. Like, if you were to share one word to describe your week, that'd be awesome to drop in there. I think if I had one word to describe my week, it has been. Oh man, it's like week number 3 in the new year, and I just feel like I am trying to not run like on the autobahn like 500 miles an hour. So I think for me, it's like balance. That would be my word. Milton, thank you for revealing. Pretty nice. That's a pretty nice week to be revealing. So give a couple people more time. Thank you guys for all joining. Really excited. Let's just jump right into it. So really excited about this topic. But before I start, for those new that are looking at this live and new to joining, Fresh CFO Fridays is really my time. Rocky, busy, nice. Fresh CFO Fridays are really my time. Last year, I had so many different great conversations with so many different finance CFO, fractional CFO professionals across the world. And one of the things that me and my team set out this year is like, I wanted to have more impact, wanted to have more reach, wanted to have more ability, and honestly, wanted to spend time every week sharing different topics with you as a fractional CFO, as a CFO, as an FP&A or finance professional, different topics, different things to learn. This isn't going to be like, a series where we're going to be popping open Excel and going through stuff, not discrediting those things, but just really a time for us to get together and share kind of some insights, share some things to help you better run as a fractional CFO or things that you can even take away as a financial professional. So that's really the goal. If you haven't already, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell on our YouTube page. That way you'll get all communications, all videos, everything that we post on the Fresh FP&A channel. So if you haven't done that, make sure you go hit that after the video is done. So um, let's kick it right off. So this topic today is the top 5 tips that fractional CFOs need to know about content marketing. And I think this is not just for fractional CFOs. As a finance professional, as an FP&A professional, these are some great tips. And just to give everybody a baseline, my primary channel for content that I use is primarily on LinkedIn. I remember being back on LinkedIn. I may age myself on this, but this is fine, right? We're all a family in here. That's another thing about Fresh CFO Fridays is like we're all a family in here. But I remember being back on LinkedIn like once I got out of college, right? And I remember having my first job walking into public accounting. And I remember having LinkedIn help me during like the recruiting process while I was, getting an internship at Ernst and Young, as well as I was coming on full time. It was as Facebook was blowing up. Damn, man, I'm aging myself because some people on here may be like, "Dude, Facebook was blowing up. You were around for that." As Facebook was blowing up from more of a personal perspective in college and like connecting with people from like a personal perspective in that aspect, like LinkedIn was blowing up on the professional side. And I remember earlier on, like, hey man, this has a lot of potential. Like I was always commenting and doing fun stuff with my friends on Facebook. And then I was also like building my brand on like LinkedIn. And now you fast forward, I won't even talk about how many years that's been, but LinkedIn has like blown up. And not only that, but like content marketing has just exploded, right? The last couple years. I think the pandemic was probably a big catalyst of content marketing, at least a lot of short content because people didn't have a lot of time. They were just bunkled up in their house and bunkered down to do things. So, but content marketing has exploded and it has become like a significant avenue for influencers. Like if you talk about what an influencer was like a couple years ago, you'd be like, I don't know what an influencer is, but there are literally people. A prime example of this is a famous YouTuber called Mr. Beast. This guy got offered, I think it was close to $4 billion to buy his like YouTube content, and he's like, nah, my content, my platform, my channel, everything that I do, the amount of views, like it's worth more than $4 billion. Like this guy literally is a YouTuber and he's created a tremendous like business and valuation for himself, just doing great content. If you want to check out some of Mr. Beast's video, make sure to check out here. This is going to be his latest video and some awesome content. Mr. Beast is great. He's like the best YouTuber ever. So check out a video here. But my top five, and let's get right into it after you give me like some context and some history around it. But here are my top five content strategies and tactics that fractional CFOs or finance professionals need to know. Tip number one is you have to be consistent, right? I remember, so like for me, getting back in consistency, I was talking with a fractional CFO on the West Coast, probably about a week ago, and he's getting his business going. He's a fractional CFO, and he's focused on providing fractional CFO services for like health and wellness, so like gyms and fitness studios and things like that. That's really what he's going after. And one of the things, like, he connected with me, he's like, Chris, man, I see all the great stuff that you're doing. Like, I love everything that you talk about. I love your voice. I love the impact that you're having. Like, how can I get to that? And I said, the first thing, and this is like probably number one on my list for tips, you have to be consistent. And what that consistency means is like, I post to LinkedIn and all my channels 6 days a week, every day. I know my hopefully my content team will look through this and like they're doing a tremendous and great job with it, right? We have a great partnership. We work great together, but you have to be consistent, right? And I shared that with him. I was like, man, you gotta post every. He's like, man, what? I gotta post every day. I'm like, yes. If you want to have that audience, if you want to build that repetition, you have to be consistent. And it's consistent on whatever platform you choose, right? Like for me and Fresh FP&A and for our business, most of our ICP, our ideal customer profile, that is going to be on LinkedIn. So consistently every day, I got a message, I got a content, I got something that I'm posting to my community, to the people that we help and serve. So that is tip number one around content marketing that every fractional CFO needs to do. You need to be consistent. Step number two, now that you're consistent, you got to find your primary and secondary channels. What do I mean by this? So, as I mentioned for Fresh FP&A, we're connecting with CEOs, business owners, founders, board of directors. Our ICP and our customer base of clients and prospects and partners that I want to build, they're all on LinkedIn, right? So that is my primary channel for Fresh FP&A as a business. That is the primary channel, right? Now the secondary channels where I like to say to land and expand into, that's going to be your Facebook, that's going to be your Instagram, that's going to be your TikTok, that's going to be your Twitter, that's going to be your YouTube, that's going to be your Discord, that's going to be your Reddit, that's going to be, fill in the blanks. Those are the secondary channels. But I take everything from LinkedIn and I cascade that down to my secondary channels, right? Another example is, say you're a health and wellness company, right? And you want to target, millennials, right? Would you want to do that on LinkedIn? Probably not, right? Like that's not where your ideal customer profile is going to be. That's not the persona you want to interact. That's not the faces you want to get into. So in that situation, for that particular person, their primary channels may be Facebook and Instagram, right? That's their primary channels, and maybe their secondary channels are, Facebook. Twitter, Snapchat, maybe Pinterest. Those other elements of it. So the second tip is find your primary channel and land there and explain to the subsequent channel. So a lot of times, a lot of the messaging and communication that I do is, it's through LinkedIn, but a lot of that is just piecemeal to Facebook, it's piecemeal to Twitter, speak to Instagram. It's I haven't got on TikTok yet, and then drop it in the comments or chat if you think TikTok is a viable. TikTok is good, but as I think about it, right, a CEO on there is probably not going to see my TikTok and be like, "Hey, I need to do business with Fresh FP&A." He's looking for something fun or looking for something creative on there. So that's tip number two. Find your primary channel and cascade to your secondary channel. Tip number 3 is listen, this is a let's have a real conversation. So Rocky, Milton, everybody else looking at this is for real. So this is me being like this is me like, "Hey, let's have a conversation." Be authentic and don't do your content that's this clickbait stuff out there, right? Try not to get overexcited and let my passions just blast out, but this is prevalent, right? I think one of the things, and a great friend of mine, shout out to Carl Simon. Carl, if you're ever on this, if you don't know Carl Simon has been around in the FP&A space. He does FP&A training. He has a great master class course. If you want to learn like anything around training, anything around like developing your team around FP&A, Carl Simon is the man. I'll drop a link here to check out Carl Simon's LinkedIn profile and to also check out some of his masterclass stuff. Carl is my guy, right? Um, one of the things is like you got to be authentic, man. And I think so much around social media, so much around content marketing, you can tell it's just purely for likes, comments, it's purely for SEO optimization. It's not really authentic, right? You're putting out a piece of content because it's going to be like, oh, like it's going to get a reaction out of people, which is a good thing, right? But you can tell from the message, you can tell from like the delivery of it, it's very, very, very surface level, right? I'm not going to call any people out. I'm not going to name any names, but you've got to be authentic, right? Don't be putting out this clickbait stuff. Don't be putting out this information that you have never walked, lived, or breathed in, right? Jay-Z had a great quote. I was listening to a Jay-Z song yesterday, and he mentioned like we don't talk about things that if we didn't live it, right? And that is one thing. It's hard to decipher who is like someone that's been there, done that, lived it, know the failures, know the mistakes, know what could go wrong, know the improvements. Like they live that and they just don't talk about it. So, point number 3 in your content strategy is be real. Like be authentic, right? There's certain things like I'm giving you my content list, but I'm telling you right now, I have developed content for myself and have a team of people that I've worked with, but I don't have any experience like in a business running content, right? Part of what I'm going to give you is like, hey, these are tips and tips from my experience for what I lived through, for what my team has said, Chris, this hasn't worked or we failed at, right? So be authentic. Don't be one of those clickbait people and just putting out stuff that, and another piece to highlight to that, we have to stop stealing people's stuff. Oh my God. Like I was dealing with and talking with another great fractional CFO earlier this week, and you blatantly seen someone copy his entire message. Like, didn't even change a word on it. Like, I'm talking like he literally went. I wish I could show you my mouse and show the screen. He literally went to the post, selected the post, hit Control C. Oh, for all my Excel superstars, you know what Control C is. But for everybody else, you select it, you right click, you click copy the entire thing. You open up your profile, hit Control V. Everybody knows that. Or you right click and hit paste, and then you hit publish. Literally, that is what it was. And I was like, like this is crazy. Like he literally took everything. That is so important. So many people are just literally just biting off of other people's stuff, taking it and running with it. Please don't be that person. So point number 3, be authentic, be yourself. Um, point number 4, now we're going to get into it. Point number 4 is keep track of your numbers, right? But let me caveat that. Let me preference that, right? Do not look at like how many likes, comments, reposts, all of that stuff. Let me be honest with you. Let's have a vulnerable moment. As I started Fresh FP&A and I was starting to put out, really good stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm not getting the same level of engagement from other stuff that I'm seeing out there that is really just like how did you not like if you've been in accounting, finance, FP&A, CFO, or fractional CFO for 5 or 6 years, how do you not know this? And how is this over here just booming? Meaning the likes, comments, subscribes, all of that, reposts, all of that stuff is like crazy. But here's mine, right? Don't fall into that trap of where you're measuring your numbers so much compared to like others. Don't do that. You will get discouraged. You'll feel like you're doing something wrong. You'll go down a negative path. So if you're going to keep track of your numbers as a fractional CFO and building out your content, keep track of your numbers against other pieces of content, right? So one way that you can do that is, say you have on Monday, and we'll get down to this because I got some extra tips, right? Last week it was supposed to be the top three, and I gave you six. This one, and another surprise for you guys, because I get so excited about sharing so much information, that I think of five, and I'm like, no, 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 there's more than five. There's like 15 of these things, but I kept it down. But back to what I was talking about, you know, keep track of those numbers. So if you put a piece out and you're like, all right, it did these kind of things, it did this amount of impressions, this amount of likes, this amount of comments, this amount of reposts, this amount of people engage with it. How does that compare to the next piece that you do? What tweaks have you made within your own content stuff? The worst thing that you can do around that and keeping track of your numbers and your analytics is like trying to compare what you're doing to other people. Don't make that mistake. Please don't do that. But keep track of your analytics, right? There's great tools out there. I know LinkedIn does a great job of having kind of those built-in analytics tools to be able to like give you impressions. There's also like another place, and dude, I need to start. Hey, I need to start getting some paid promotions in here. I think that's one thing I need to do. But I like just giving people like advice and like, hey man, take it. You're gonna be better for it. If not, hey man, it was, hopefully it helped you a little bit. But there's a great resource that if you want to check out, it's this company called Shield, as shield dot AI or dot AP or something. But just type in Shield in LinkedIn, like Shield and Shield LinkedIn in Google, in a Google search, should be the first results in there. But like they go deep into the analytics of like your profile, your content, your engagement, all the different things around that. So definitely check that out if you want to have like a secondary resource outside of like a major platform that you can look at. LinkedIn does a really good job of giving you a lot of the statistics, and part of the things I go over with my content and marketing team every Monday is we go through the numbers and look at everything. So definitely do that. My fifth tip is your content format that scales, right? I want to give you, right, one of the things that I just think about. So one of the things you'll find yourself in as you're building your fractional CFO business or building your brand on whatever platform that you're using, right? You're gonna wake up and you're gonna have this, right? You're gonna be like, what am I gonna talk about today? I have been there so many times. You're gonna wake up, you're gonna be like, Chris has told me to be consistent. I know what my primary channel is. I'm gonna be authentic in my voice, and I'm gonna measure it as I put this out. But like, what do I talk about today? Like, I even do something, right? You're sitting there, you got other things on your mind. We've all been there. I don't care. You could be the best content creator in the world, and I guarantee you, everybody's had that point. But I want to give you like a format that I use, right? It's helpful to me, and it's just a good way. And I learned this from reading a lot. I learned this from my marketing partner, who's tremendous in helping giving me that strategic direction. But for me, it's a very simple format, right? Catchy title, right? Not clickbait title, right? And honestly, if I'm being fully transparent and I want to give my roses and respect, Mr. Beast is incredible at this. Like he's incredible on his titles, like a catchy title. I like to keep it fresh. I like to keep it fun, right? And I, even though like my primary channel is gonna be LinkedIn, still keep it so much fun. So have a catchy title, something that's hooked. There are plenty. One of the things I'm gonna drop in this live after it's over are resources that I use, technologies that I use in the description of this video. There's like headline analyzers that you can use. There's a lot of resources around there, but catchy headline, right? And part of this format that I'm gonna give you, this may sound really, but I like to keep things simple and easy. This goes back to like, remember elementary school where you learned like introductory paragraph, three main points, conclusion. Like, remember that? I don't even know what that framework is called, but a lot of what I'm about to share with you is like, I'm like, hey, like I've read some great articles before and I know how to write, so I'm gonna take a lot of that and just build on it and more modernize it. So catchy title first, that's the first one, catchy title, keep it words, maybe throw some emojis in there. Second thing is introductory, right? Don't make this like a 5 line thing, right? Like if people have to read 5 lines of something for them to get to the point of what this post is going to be about, or what you're sharing with them, don't. Try to keep that introductory about the catchy highlight. Keep that at least, 2 to 3 lines, 4 lines maybe, right? Then you want to give the viewer a recap of like what are the major points in there. So you kind of laid that introductory. This is kind of like that 3 point. I use emojis on that. Sometimes I use like fun letters. Sometimes I do things, but it's like, hey, here's the catchy title. Here's what we're going to talk about. Here's the key deliverables that you're going to get out of this, right? That keeps them engaged to know, like, okay, yeah, I like what Chris is talking about. Okay, these are going to be the takeaways that I take away from it. Then you get to that kind of wrap up summary that ties it all together. Maybe it's a quote that you have, maybe it's another resource that you have to supplement what you just communicated. But you you have that space where you kind of summarize it all together and it all weaves to the connects. Then now you're adding to that. Now you want to have some form of engagement, right? Say you're talking about a topic and you're like, hey, I think I think EBIT is the best metric that every fractional CFO should be measuring with their clients, right? Say you have a catchy title. You know what? Let's do it right off the top. Let's do it right off the top. If I had a catchy title about profitability being the number one thing that fractional CFOs need to have, I would say catchy title, I'll probably have, how healthy, how's your annual checkup going on your profitability in your business, right? And I probably have like a blow my head emoji because it's like, whoa, man, like I don't know what my annual checkup is. Like, when's the last time that happened, right? Have a summary paragraph, blah 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 blah. Here's the main point, summarizing it together. But at the end, right? I would have, do you agree or disagree that profitability should be the number one metric, or EBIT margin should be the number one metric that fractional CFOs should have with their clients, right? You want to tie in that summary and have some sort of interaction with somebody reading that, right? You want to promote them to provide their insights. Do they agree? Do they not agree? Are there other resources? Is there anything else they should be measuring? Are you completely off, right? You want to tie in some form of engagement in that piece, right? And like I said, there's so many content creators outside of finance that I just learned from, which is another probably golden nugget. Don't reinvent the wheel, man. There are people out there that are making millions and billions of dollars like Mr. Beast off of this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Follow the frameworks, right? But tie that engagement piece, and then the last thing is going to be a CTA. You want to have some sort of call to action, right? Whether that's talking about your business, or whether it's referencing a resource, or you got an upcoming event coming, or you want them to follow your profile, or you want them to you want them to do something. You want them to lead to say, man, that caught my attention. I really liked how Chris summarized it. I got these 1 to 5 key takeaways in it. Chris did a great job of summarizing it. Oh, he's offered me to engage now. I'm going to engage. And now he's led me down a path, right? To visit his website or learn more about Fresh FP&A, or find out how to be a better finance business partner, whatever the case may be. That is, I think, a nice framework that you can go through and tackle of like, how do you structure what you want to talk about, right? But yeah, there's plenty other resources out there. So to me, I know we talked a lot about that, but I want to give you something practical and actionable that you can take. That's tip number 5. So those are really like my top 5. But again, I was sitting there going through this, and every time I think about these things, I always come up with so much more stuff. So I'm gonna give you 4 extra tips that you need to know about content marketing if you're a fractional CFO. Tip number 6. So the bonus round, go engage in your community, right? So like, I'm in the fractional CFO space, in the CFO space, in finance, in FP&A. Those are primarily the spaces that I'm in. Go interact. Go have a great comment, or I see so many different, like, there's only really like a couple of people that actually I really genuinely like and comment and post stuff on, because I think a lot of it is just like, dude, this is noise. Like, I've learned this already. But go share, like go add an insight, go comment on things, or go provide a resource or build a connection. A lot of good ways that I like doing this that I just get really excited about for people. And this is just personally like what and my team tells me, Chris, you shouldn't be doing this all the time. You shouldn't be doing this. But one of the things I like to do is like when people get new jobs, right? I like to ask them, like, hey, what was it about you getting that new job that was excited about? Or what was the most important part of that interview process that won you over? Or what about the role is going to be like your priority in the first 90 days? Or tell me about your experience during the interview process, right? Like part of me doing that is I'm just naturally curious, right? So when you're engaging with other people's content, whether it's on LinkedIn or whatever your primary channels are, that was in that step number two, right? Go engage, share additional insights, right? There's a great resource in the HR space. If you haven't followed her, check her out right here. I'll post a link to here's her picture. Her picture is going to be right here, and a link to where you go follow her. Her name is April Little. She is like as Fresh FP&A is bringing that fresh perspective to finance. April, you are bringing that fresh perspective to HR. Like she is amazing. I love everything about what she's doing, but she engages with other people's stuff. And another tip, you can actually do like a sub post inside of your comments, right? So, like, say you got all your comments going and you're engaging with people and you ask the question, you can throw another one out there and keep engagement. It's almost like you're creating a post within a post. I know we're getting to like the Inception levels of this right now, right? If you haven't watched Inception, it's actually a great movie. Like Christopher Nolan, by far, the best director of all time. We can debate in the comments if you think Christopher Nolan's not the best. He's the best. Bane, Christopher Nolan is the best, and that version of Batman is by far the best. Let's argue. But anyways, like that piece of it's great. You can actually create sub comments and a whole nother thread inside of your comment section of where you are. So that's my bonus tip number 6. Number 7, right? Know your content pillars, right? You've got to know these things, right? So, for example, what is a content pillar? A content pillar in Fresh FP&A is fractional CFOs. That is a content pillar that my team has. Is something we talk about. That is the pillar. Think of I always use like analogies. Think of a house, right? This is so a house. You got the concrete slab, or if you're a basement, cool, right? I have a concrete slab in my house, and you got like those 4 key pillars, right? Of that builds that entire house on it. One of my key pillars of my house is fractional CFOs. And talking about that. Because I'm living and breathing that, I'm building the business around it, and that is literally my livelihood. So of course I'm going to talk about that, right? But within that pillar, I can talk about best practices, how to's. Part of that content pillar around fractional CFOs is Fresh CFO Fridays. I'm like, every Friday, I'm going to get together. I'm going to have a topic. I'm going to share some insights. So, that content pillar are the different things that you have. Tying back to point number 3, be authentic, right? Have your content pillars, things that you've lived, breathed, got experience on. You can go in depth on those, right? Like you can talk about that. You can't just talk about it from doing a Google search. Like you can go into like the details of where you messed up at what time and what you would have done right and how you communicated and how did that communication fall and what did you change and build your content pillars around that. Now, with those content pillars, that'll help you have that consistency of what you're going to talk about. You wake up, right? I know when I wake up on Friday from 12 to 12:45, I'm going to have Fresh CFO Fridays. I'm going to have that. Got consistency in it. I got my message. That is really, really key. So define those content pillars that you want to have. Don't make it like 20 different things, right? Like I've seen I had a friend reach out to me that is starting her own fractional CFO place in Argentina, and she is super comprehensive. And we were talking, and she's like, "Hey, Chris, can you look over kind of the content strategy I'm going to have?" And she sent me this Excel document. It was beautiful. It was beautiful, but it was like 20 different pillars. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, how are you going to be able to like 20 different things? Like that's 20 days. Like how are you gonna get feedback within a month on those things? Keep it simple. Well, I would say like 2 to 5 content pillars that you're gonna talk about consistently. Number 8, and I'm good on time. Number 8, listen, this is important. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So what do I mean by that? Is you got to think strategically and think about your content as a fractional CFO that you're putting out there. You have to think strategically, right? But you also have to be agile enough to change, right? And some people may go against this, and like marketers may be like, "What, Chris? You can't be changing content midstream. You can't be doing that." No, there's one thing that we've known is like change happens, right? And there's topics that you may talk about that other things may be coming to the forefront, right? So for example, right, one of the things that I was like really really big on last year, that I'm still big on, that's still a content pillar of ours in Fresh FP&A, was financial transformation, right? That's still a pillar, still important. But now, like, I'm like, okay, I got to prioritize that pillar against other content pieces because the market and the landscape has changed, right? So you have to think about your content strategy strategically, and you have to be willing to make those pivot or persevere decisions around your messaging and how you communicate, right? But don't be doing this like every week, right? Because that gets to point number one. You're not going to be consistent. If you're changing it up every week and what you're talking about and you're all over the place, right? Um, Nobody's gonna know like what you're talking about, right? So at least at a minimum, set that vision. It's easy. It's a framework that I have. Set your vision, set your strategy, set your tactics, set your milestones, set your metrics, right? Very bing, 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 in a quarter of how you're going about this strategically thinking about your content. Huge, huge opportunity. And we're CFOs, right? So like if you guys can't already tell, I am all about simple and easy frameworks, right? And if I'm being really honest with you, a lot of these frameworks I've learned because I haven't been in finance and I've been outside of the business. Like I've been working with marketing people, I've been working with sales people, I've been working with operations people, I've been building great partnerships with a lot of great people outside of finance. So keep it in that framework. It's a marathon, it's not a journey. My last one, number 9, is A/B test. So, what do I mean by this for your content? A/B testing is, say you have a content article and you're like, all right, I'm going to test this content as an article. You go through, you're consistent with it, you see your message, you go through your primary channels, you're speaking from an authentic voice, you're sharing within your community. How do you do? Right? Then you say, okay, I'm coming back around. I'm not going to take that into an article. I'm going to record a video off of that now. I'm going to take a video off of it, see how that does. Or now you're like, I'm not going to do a video. I'm going to talk about one particular topic of that subtopic and make that a post. Or I'm going to go do a LinkedIn live on it and see. Test out different methods of your content, right? Don't just be every day. It's like, I'm going to go to LinkedIn and I'm going to post 5 paragraphs for everybody to read. Some of these posts that I see and like drop it in the comments. I see these posts and I'm like, bruh, this is like it's gonna take me 10 minutes to read this. Like, bro, I'm scrolling. Like, you gotta deliver. I need that serotonin. I need that dopamine fast, right? I need it. I need it. It's like a hamster. I need my dopamine, right? So be consistent about it, but also A/B test different forms. Like I tell my marketing team, like we test out so many different like things like videos and content and reels. Um, One secret I will give you guys though, like the and this is just like a micro trend, right? Like because I read so much about outside and running a business, the path to monetizing short form content, meaning like reels, 1 minute reels, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the and the reason why you look at TikTok, right? TikTok has built $1 billion business off of quick, real time, minute, 90-second less videos around that. So you got to find a way to weave that into your content strategy. And some of you may be looking at this and saying, Chris, well, there's no way I have the kind of personality. I don't want to be on camera to actually like use like I can't take you right now. You're too much. I can't do that. you're asking me all these things and you're so passionate about it, I can't do it. There's different ways. Like there's tools out there that you can use, and I'll drop them in the description of tools that you can use that you don't ever have to like. There are YouTube people and there are LinkedIn people. There's this guy on Twitter called the Secret CFO. This guy has never showed his face. Never showed his face. His content is fire. It is fire, right? So there's ways around that, but you have to A/B test different forms of content, different ways of doing things. So that is my content, top 5 tips that fractional CFOs need to know about content marketing with a bonus. Let's go through that summary again. Number 1 is you got to be consistent. Number 2 is you got to find your primary and secondary social channels that you want to have. Number 3, you have to be authentic. Don't be clickbait. Keep it real. Real recognize real. Take that Jay-Z quote that I said, you can't talk about it if you ain't lived it. Number 4, keep track of your numbers, measure it, keep track of your own numbers. Don't fall into the mousetrap that I did and the mistake that I made and probably 2 weeks where I was just completely down on myself. Measure your numbers against yourself. Very important. Number 5, I listed out that kind of content format for you to follow. Quick and easy way, quick start guide to getting some great content up. Number 6, share, comment, post, have feedback inside of your community. Do that. Number 7, define your content pillars, right? Define your content pillars, and then the separate branches that come after that. Maybe it's like how-to guides, maybe it's best practices, maybe it's things I wish I would have learned. Different paths that you can have. Number 8, content marketing is a fractional CFO. It is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's the longer game into this. It's going to take time for you to build your following. It's going to take time for things. Some people, I'm not pointing out numbers, not pointing out names, but some people are, you can tell because it doesn't make sense. Some people don't, and don't be this person. Like, don't be this person that goes buys your likes, comments, subscriptions, your followers. Don't do that, right? I've seen people blow up, and I know personally, I know it for a fact. The reason why they blown up is because they bought that. So don't do that. And then the last point on it, A/B test different forms of your content. And then my last tidbit and best practice, the path to monetizing short form content and reels and shorts, game changer, secret, do that. So yeah, thank you guys for joining Fresh CFO Fridays. This is my next tip. Curious to know from you, like, oh Rocky, thanks for the blow my head emoji. Oh, my twin sister's on again. What's up, Ortega? What's going on? So my sister, she's older than me about 59 seconds. If you think I'm good, my sister's great. She's the better Ortega out of both of us. So shout out for my sister being there. I want to check on time. I got about 10 minutes. So drop your questions in the questions. I can see them live down here. And yeah, drop in your questions. Rocky, Milton, thank you so much for coming. I think we got 8 people here. So thank you. Happy to answer any other questions. Oh, and check out my shirt. This is we're right at the goal line of getting that fresh FP&A merch out. That's going to be out there. This is the freshest in FP&A. I got like the freshest in finance. I got like the freshest CFO. We're gonna have some fresh with you, right? Because like you can be, you could be in finance and still be cool, man. Like that stereotype is gone. We're no longer like the monopoly man with our green visors and calculators, man. We got swagger. All right, Milton, thanks, man. Super, thank you for coming, brother. Really appreciate it. Thank you for that advice. When you've lived experience, how do you differentiate between learn, know? When you say lived experience, how do you differentiate between learned and know? So Rocky's question was when you say lived experience, how do you differentiate between learn and know? Learned and know. I think what you're asking is like versus lit. Okay, when you say you lived experience, how do you versus live? Learn, know versus live. So to me, I think like if if you could really articulate and summarize exactly what you did, what were some of the risks, what were some of the failures, and you can tell that story around it, right? And you can be clear and concise about what you've done. that's really a telltale sign of it. And for me, when I go through and list anything out, anything that I've been through, right? Like a lot of times it is, man, I've learned this and I probably made a mistake off of it, or I failed on it, or I came up short. I want to give that insight of the steps that, hey, step number three is where I really made the mistake. So I think versus like the lived versus the learned portion of it is the experience that you've got and the depth of knowledge that you can talk about it on. So to me, that'd be the best way I'll answer that. No is a no is a fat finger word. Okay, Rocky. I don't know what you're saying with no is a fat finger word, but yeah. Thank you for your question, though. Okay, what else? What else, guys? What other questions do we have? We don't have anything else. Or Ortega, usually you got a question for me. Oh, good insights. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right. Well, I'll give you guys back some time. Hey, thank you again. Thank you for checking out Fresh CFO Fridays. Just in summary, every Friday between 12 and 12:45 Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be posting my tips, my practices. I want to get a couple of these underneath my belt, but then we'll start bringing on some guests. We'll start bringing on people that are other fractional CFOs to share their insights. We're going to bring on some finance leaders. We're going to bring on people outside of finance. When we start bringing on those people, we'll probably make some changes to like platform just because YouTube Live is very limited in terms of interaction. But if you want to stay tuned on Fresh FP&A Fridays, make sure to go like our Facebook. Make sure to go like our LinkedIn page. It's just Fresh FP&A. We'll post all content out there. And again, just so you don't miss any Fresh CFO Fridays, make sure to go subscribe to our channel. Click the notification bell, and you'll always be notified when things are coming on. And if you want to learn more about Fresh FP&A or have some prospects or some clients on how we can help transform and scale your finance organization, check us out. I'll post a link right here, www.freshfpa.com. We're happy to connect. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much for your time. And as I always leave, keep pushing, never settle, and the best is yet to come. Let's get it.